Hiya peeps, building a set of Bandit 600 carbs. So obviously you take them to bits, clean all the passages out, blow them all out, carb cleaner, ultrasonic cleaner. These have been in my ultrasonic cleaner, these have. So they've come up really well. So first of all we start off with diaphragms. These have had new diaphragms. Slide it in. Now when you put your diaphragm in, make sure it seats. Yeah. These old diaphragms on these CV carbs, they're quite difficult to replace the diaphragm. You have to sort of stretch them off, but you know these are the diaphragms are really hard, so you're not gonna rip them. As long as you're careful, you're not gonna rip them. Right, spring and cap. It's got little dowels in the cap, so you know where it goes. Put it on, just check that diaphragm's in place. Screws. So, oh shit. Sorry guys, I ain't too good at talking to the camera and stuff. So I'll try and add some music to it. But you just sit back and watch and learn. Obviously there's 4 inline carbs on this. On a single, be much quicker and faster to do, but like you can see, and I'm not blocking it with my bloody hands. If I am, you'll see it on the next ones, won't you, as we go along. Right, one diaphragm in. Here's the next one. Yeah, so you'd sort of stretch it, you know, around and slot it back in. But the old diaphragms on this, there was really no good. Yeah, so just make sure the diaphragm seats inside there, just like that. Let's just check that you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, so the diaphragm seats, spring, cap. Again, you got a couple of dowels. Yeah, line it up. There we go. Screw in there. Hold it in place. Spin these in. It's the light in this garage as well, it friggin' messes with your eyes. I was going to show you how to replace the diaphragms, but you know, it's so tricky, like, and you wouldn't have got to see anything because I'm stretching and in weird bloody situations, you know. Also, new float ball gaskets have been put in, as you can see. They're crap. Let me light that. Right, next one. And on these bandits as well, these needles are a set height. Usually you'd set the height yourself for each individual carb, but these are preset. So again, that makes it a bit easier on these. Each carb has its own bloody struggles though, that's a fact. Cat, 1, 2 dial fingers up. Let me just check that that's moved. Yeah, it's alright. Obviously, if you don't get a diaphragm correctly, you get no vacuum. Diaphragm gives you the vacuum. Might be quite a bit of a lengthy video this, but people get to see the whole build. I was going to film the strip of it, but it's, you know, we all can bloody pull things to bits, can't we? There we go. There's that. Now we've got to remove this here. This is for the choke cable. What holds the choke cable? So, the choke cable. Inside there. I think that's where that'll come. I'll just put you there for a second. Wipe my fag again. It's really going out. Another diaphragm. Yep. Okay. Just drop you in there. Needle needs to just slide through. There we go. There's that. Let's put that on. Take them 2 screws out. Go like that. There we go. Let's get a screw in there first to hold it. Thing with carbs, just take your time. Just take your time. Once they're on the bike as well, I'll show you balancing them. As I say, these are for my Bandit 600. So, like that. That's what your choke cable sits through. So when you pull the lever, it opens the choke. There we go. Right. There we go. Just take your time whilst doing this. You really don't want to mess anything up inside a set of carbs, because the smallest movement in a carb creates the biggest problems ever running wise. There we go. That is 4 floats in. Next up we have your fuel screws. On these we have fuel screws because closest to the engine is the screw. If the screw is closest to the fuel box, it's an air screw. So these are fuel screws what control how much fuel is required. Now you have a spring of these, and you have a little O-ring and a little washer. Yeah. Get rid of that rubbish. So you have a fuel screw. Pop that cap off, yeah. You have a fuel screw. You have a spring. I always lie the carbs just like, actually let's turn them around for this bit. Lie the carbs just like that. Yeah, so you've got your fuel screw, you've got your spring, and you've got your little washer. And then you've got the little O-ring. Yeah, so can you guys see that? Yeah. You stick that in. And then just put that in there like so. Now with these, ever so lightly seat them. Yeah, just lightly seated. Do not bloody go to town on them. Do not. Next one, exactly the same as the first one. So we want the fuel screw. We want the spring. And then we want the O-ring and the washer, yeah. Tiny, tiny, tiny little things. So again, exactly the same. Yeah, so just put them in, ever so lightly seat them, and then we're going to set the fuel once they're all in. Yeah, ever so lightly seated. Number 3. Don't need those O-rings. Fuel screw. Spring. Washer. O-ring. So as you can imagine, without the O-ring on there and the washer, it's just going to mess the fuel settings up because it's not correct. You get it? Slightly seat them. Slightly seat them. Making sure it's all seating properly. Try turning it in and out a bit. again. Spring. Now you can imagine you drop one of these on the floor, it'll be lost. Right, now I've set the fuel screws. The manual says 1 7/8 of a turn out. I always find on the Bandit 600 it makes it run too lean, so I always go to 2.5 turns out, and then once it's started, if it's running slightly rich, you can always back it off 1/4 of a turn, you know, but I always find 2.5 turns to be about right. So we've got 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Come on, where are you? We've got 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Come on, where are you? There you go. And we've got 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Sometimes you back it off just 1/4 of a turn. Now it's float bowls. I think you go on the bike actually. So, oh, you go that side. See these, this is where you drain your carbs from. So when putting these back on, pay attention, because imagine if that was there pointing inwards, you ain't accessing that whilst these are on the bike, are you? Again, these have had new gaskets. Yeah. Pointless doing half a job, innit? If you're going to do a job, go all out on it. These screws in. And I know this is for a Bandit 600, but carbs are generally roughly the same. I also have a project, a Ninja 750, and I need to do the carbs on that because they're totally battered. It's been stood 7 years, that bike. So anyone who wants to learn how to do carbs, I'll be doing quite a few of them with my project bikes, you know. So let's tighten these down. Again, you don't need to over tighten anything, because remember, at some point you'll have to take carbs back off because they'll get blocked. And if you've over tightened them here, they're hard enough to bloody take back off anyway, you know, and often you have to drill the heads off a few, because it's just like bloody butter sometimes when you put the screwdriver on it. And yeah, but sitting at your desk or your bench or whatever you want to call it, it's nice doing a set of carbs, you know. It's good for the head. It's good for the head, really good for the head. Nearly there. These back through. Like so. On to the next. I know I could have just done this on one carb and says to you, like, just repeat the process on all four. But you know, we've only been videoing 30 minutes. And some people like to see the whole thing. Others you can skip forward, can't you? And find what bit you really need. Or I could break it down into sections and put sections up of how to do. So yeah, I don't struggle with this bit of it, the mechanical side of it. It's a bloody editing. Editing everything. And I'm not the best on a camera, so get my fag back. And that, people, is how you sort a set of carbs. And obviously you just pop your fuel line back on that. Like so. And stick it up there. Clip down. Need a pair of pliers to pop that on. Breather pipes. Oh. And that is a carbs set. Yeah? Nice and easy. Right, off you go, peeps. Sort it yourselves now.